The Conda is amazing. It is the ultimate farmer's ship. The Henry was great at tier 10, but as far as super ships go, nothing really compares to the Conda and its ability to pump out damage at an insane rate. This game has some of the highest damage output I've ever had for the amount of time we were playing. So our first salvos are going out around the 18-minute mark. And 5 minutes from now, we're going to be up over 200,000 damage. Just to spoil a little bit, it's insane. And the biggest reason for that is that this ship not only has good DPM, its Alpha Strike and ability to Dev Strike cruisers is basically unmatched. The improved dispersion and burst salvo that you get with this thing, it's just OP. I'm gonna like look at this. It's a little bit overtuned, I would say. This man died before the second salvo even got there. So yeah, 71,000 damage, that's a pretty good start. But of course, we also have the incredible HE. You get one more gun per turret than Henry does, and you still retain decent acceleration. So not only do you get the incredible gun power and better gun power than the Henry, you retain the old Henry, pre-nerf Henry, his ability to basically dodge shells. So we're really not too afraid of these battleships for the most part. We're going to see later on I do get caught a little bit. The black hole armor doesn't always hold up, but 8,000 HE damage? That's just the raw damage. We only had 7 shells. That's pretty insane, I gotta say. So pretty standard Henry game, which, you know, the playstyle remains pretty similar, where you're wanting to play at range, you're wanting people to push into you, you're playing this angled, kited away position, and then you're going to use your speed boost to just slowly move back and forth and dodge most of the enemy salvos. You're going to notice I'm pretty bad at aiming at long range. I don't really play Henry all that much anymore, so it's going to take a little bit of getting used to. This is my actually first Conda game in a very long time, and in random battles especially. But the damage output, well, 4 minutes game time, we're already on 100k damage. And since we started shooting, that's what, 2 minutes ago? Of course the Dev Strike helps. Of course the Dev Strike helps. But this ship is nuts, and certainly contributes to the passive nature that these super ships are bringing to the game. Why would you push into this? No one normal would push into this. Anybody thinking about, is this going to be the most efficient way to use my ship, is going to push into this. A strategy you should definitely be using if you're playing the Conda is that when you decide to pop, wow, look at that HE damage. When you decide to pop your special ability of this burst salvo, you get an insanely long reload, right? Well, save your reload booster. You can see it has a pretty quick cooldown. Save your reload booster for those moments, and you can get back to your standard single fire DPM pretty quickly. And I found that this is one of the more efficient ways to play it. This reload booster, of course, is incredibly useful on the single fire as well, if you're just looking to get fires, but I really enjoy using it on this burst fire mode that gives you not only 2 salvos in burst really quickly that you can save for a damage con or save for a broadside cruiser. It also gives you improved dispersion on top of the 2 salvo burst, and that dispersion really comes in clutch when you're trying to relight fires on someone or, well, Dev Strike cruisers. And that's going to be the first 3 or so minutes of us shooting. And the enemy team has been pushed back with good reason, I think. These guys are not pushing in here. So we're going to skip ahead just a minute or so onto the 13-minute mark, as you can see. If we can get 200k before the clock hits 13, that'll be 5 minutes of firing for 200,000 damage. And look who went broadside. Yep, 5 minutes of firing, 200,000 damage. So not quite 5 minutes in-game time. But still, 5 minutes of shooting, and we've got ourselves 200,000 damage. That's just insane. Insane. Of course, not every game looks like this. Most of the time, people aren't going to push in and go broadside to you. They're usually not going to let their battleships get lit on fire a whole bunch. We actually end up not having a Witherer yet, so we're not even relying too heavily on fires for this damage. It is just straight up raw alpha damage coming out of this thing. And we're certainly not done yet. However, we don't have our speed boost. And this really comes back to bite us, as there's a lot of ships with overmatch. Yeah, that hurts. That hurts a lot. And that's the problem with Henry now, even with its speed boost. You're not going to be dodging stuff like that particularly easily. Whereas Conda retains some of its ability to accelerate, and combined with speed boost, then it gets a pretty decent acceleration, enough to dodge most battleship salvos at reasonable ranges. But we didn't have speed boost up. I got too greedy and I stayed too long, and I, well, paid the price for it. At least we didn't lose all of our HP for it. I think the most difficult thing to manage in the Conda is your consumables of your reload booster specifically, and using that burst salvo. When to use them together, when to use them separately. I'd say you probably don't want to use them separately. You probably want to go together on them, since that burst salvo takes so long to reload. It's like 40 seconds or something like that. It's a long time. Whereas the normal reload, the standard DPM of this ship, I think you tend to want to use that to light more normal fires on ships and then wait for them to damage control. That would be my more standard advice. So there's Georgia, for example. Well, 10,000 damage from a single normal HE salvo. That's pretty nuts. And we get a double fire, of course, as well. And this is where we're going to wait for him to use his damage control. And there it goes. So now is when we want to wait out that damage control. American battleships, it's 20 seconds. Maybe longer, depending on if he's taken specific upgrades in his first slot. But we switch over to our burst fire and wait until we think that immunity period will be over. And unfortunately, I don't actually aim this properly. Henry and Conda shells need to be led more than I think. But we do get that follow-up fire, and had we actually done a better job of aiming, maybe we would have had a double fire or at least more damage. You can see I used my reload booster to dramatically cut down on that massive reload of 40 seconds, and we're available to shoot again. That's the really true power of this burst fire and the reload boost in combination. This time we don't get it, and along with our AR, it's only a 35 or so second reload left, and we don't actually get the kill quite yet, but we got a couple fires burning on this Georgia. There's our Witherer and our next kill. This ship is really strong, but learning how to use those in combination is going to be the skill ceiling part of this ship. Now, unfortunately, I do have to bring up a problem with this ship. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. We just shot a single salvo at this Prince Ruprecht. And take a look at our reload. Yes, it went on the burst salvo reload when we only did a single shot. And that's pretty frustrating when you're trying to, I don't know about win a game, but trying to maybe get to 300,000 damage in this game. Yeah, pretty disappointing that there's some bugs in these super ships yet. I feel like they've gone through like probably a year of testing before coming into public test servers. Like, these ships have been around a long time and these bugs are still here. It's pretty disappointing that that's the state of World of Warships these days. So unfortunately, no 300k and no win, but a ton of damage, especially on that front load of 5 minutes of shooting our guns and 200,000 damage. And of course, well, if you find a DD, I just had to put this clip in here. That's just nuts. As far as the build on this ship goes, I'm just using my Henry Captain. This is what I've got at the moment. You could definitely look at not running concealment and trying to maximize this top grade gunner buff, but I just find it not quite comfortable enough to give up all that concealment. It's a little bit rough, so I enjoy playing with just a little bit of concealment on both the Captain and the upgrade modules, but we're definitely running as much reload as we can, and of course accuracy as well. The Conda is a ton of fun, and when you're renting these super ships, definitely give this ship a go. It's hilarious with its burst fire. But that's going to be the video for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.